Or maybe I was more surprised, not that I was his wife, but that I was anybody's wife, really. The word wife was so wifey that it made me squeamish. It made me think of aprons and meatloaf and household cleansers. You'd think the word would have evolved for me by that point. Or perhaps it had evolved for most people into cell phones and aftercare and therapy, but I was the one who was stuck, like some gilled species unable to breathe up on the mudflats. Although Peter and I had been together for a total of 5 years, I felt like I didn't know him at all sometimes. Like at that very moment, as he was being back-clapped and jostled by the guy in the pink-striped polo shirt, I felt as if I'd spotted some rare species called husband in its natural habitat. I was wondering what its habits were. Eating, chirping, wingspan, mating, life expectancy. It's difficult to explain, but more and more often I'd begun to rear back like this, to witness my life as a National Geographic reporter, someone with a British accent who found my life not so much exciting as curious. The ice cream shop was packed, and the 2 high school girls on staff were stressed, their faces damp and pinched, bangs sticking to their foreheads, their matching eyeliner gone smeary. I'd finally made my way to the curved counter and placed my order. Soon enough, I was holding a cone of pistachio for Peter and waiting for a cup of vanilla frozen yogurt for myself. That's when the more beleaguered of the 2 scoopers finished someone else's order and shouted to a customer behind me. "What do you want?" A man answered. "I'll have 2 scoops of Gwen Merchant, please." I spun around, sure I'd misheard, because I am Gwen Merchant, or I was before I got married. But there in the line behind me stood a ghost from my past, Elliot Hull. I was instantly overwhelmed by the sight of him. Elliot Hull, with his thick dark hair and his beautiful eyebrows, standing there with his hands in his pockets, looking tender and boyish. I don't know why, but I felt like I'd been waiting for him, without knowing I'd been waiting for him. And I wasn't so much happy as I was relieved that he'd finally shown up again. Some strange but significant part of me felt like throwing my arms around him as if he'd come to save me, and saying, "Thank God you finally showed up! What took you so long? Let's get out of here!" But I couldn't really have been thinking this. Not way back then. I must be projecting, backwards, and there must be a term for this, projecting backwards, but I don't know what it is. I couldn't have been thinking that Elliot Hull had come to save me because I didn't even know I needed saving. And of course, I'd have to save myself in the end. The only conclusion I can draw is that maybe he represented some lost part of myself. And I must have realized on some level that it wasn't that I'd been missing only Elliot Hull. I must have been missing the person I'd been when I'd known him. That Gwen Merchant. The somewhat goofy, irreverent, seriously unwifely part. 2 scoops of her. Plus, did I really even know Elliot all that well? We'd met at a freshman orientation icebreaker, a dismal event, really, at Loyola College, the one in Baltimore, and then, in the spring of our senior year, we had an intense, messy, short-lived relationship, 3 weeks of inseparableness that ended when I'd slapped him in a bar. I hadn't seen Elliot Hull since a cookies and punch reception after the English department's awards ceremony at graduation 10 years earlier. Regardless, I found myself feeling emotional, a welling in my throat, and my eyes stinging with tears. The air conditioning was pressing my hair flat. I stepped out of the gust and pretended that I wasn't sure it was him at all. "Elliot Hull?" I asked. I did this, I think, because I was terrified by the tide of joy in my chest. Also, I remembered enough about our relationship that I didn't want to give him the satisfaction of immediate recognition. He was the type to notice something like that and be a little smug about it. He looked older, but not much. In fact, he had the lean body of a man who would age well, who in his 70s might be described